Ted Verst, and I'm with KZF Design, Cincinnati here. I've been with KZF for 18 years. And today we're going to talk about the building behind us, the Mercy Health headquarters building.
The part that I enjoy the most is really watching your work go up from the ground up. You know, you spend a lot of time preparing drawings and specifications and meetings with builders, owners, everybody else. And then when that building starts taking shape and form, you kind of get excited about that. You know, you see sort of the fruition of your work paid off. Well, typically when we begin a project, the architect will typically take the lead, and they'll work real closely with the engineer, along with designing the building to support the occupants and whatever goes inside of it. You have to also design the building to withstand any kind of wind overturning, or you don't think about it, but even in Cincinnati we have seismic requirements. We're kind of in the middle of 3 separate faults. One is, I believe, near Savannah, Georgia. One is near Memphis, Tennessee, and there's some seismic activity in northern Ohio. And we're kind of close enough to all 3 of those where if there were to be a seismic event, we would feel the aftershocks of it.
Particulars of this building is, here's the resistance that's for the earthquakes. We have three interior braced frames, and around the perimeter we have fully welded moment frames, which are heavier beams and columns with fully welded connections. We didn't have the luxury of using braces around the perimeter of this building because there's windows around the entire perimeter and there's nowhere to hide these diagonal members if we were to include those. So yeah, that's the actual seismic forces were pretty high in this building because of the overall mass and also the poor soil characteristics. This soil had to be reinforced, and that poor soil also contributes to higher seismic loads.
We'll present 2 or 3 different structural schemes to them, and they'll either a contractor will be on board or an estimator will price that and see what's most economical. Obviously, you know, the owner wants the least expensive structural option that's available to them. You know, if 3 systems are going to work perfectly fine, they're going to want to use the least expensive one. A perfect example of this is our Mercy project. I finished about 75% of the design, and the client came across additional funding, and they decided they wanted to add a 5th floor to one of the towers. And so that doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you add a whole floor to a building, you have to redesign all the columns, all the foundations. Within the building, you have to make provisions for overturning from the wind and the seismic we talked about. Now you're making the building taller, so it can tip over. It's more readily to tip over if you think about it like that. So all that stuff. Adding 1 floor probably added 2.5, 3 extra weeks for engineering time on my end.
For this particular project, Messer Construction is the construction manager. Messer's been on board since day one. You know, they were instrumental along with design. They helped keep the cost in check, help us with which design was the most cost efficient and effective for the owner and for everybody involved. For this particular project, we have contracted 6 site visits. We have them spread out throughout the phases of construction, so we see a lot of progress in between visits. And when I come here, I generally look for just general conformance with our design drawings. Make sure the different pieces of the structure are where they need to be, and everything's in conformance with our documents. I don't actually test anything here. I just pretty much look for conformance between my set of documents and what's being built. As problem solving and communication and collaboration. You know, those are critical for a project's success. You can have the smartest kid in the world, but if they're afraid to ask questions, or if they're afraid to communicate within a team, then it really makes things hard on everybody.